I 32 male, work in logistics, pretty standard stuff. I honestly thought I knew what my marriage was. I thought I knew who my wife, 30 female, was. We'd been married 5 years, together for 7. The last year, though, felt like walking on eggshells that were also somehow on fire. The fight that ended it wasn't about anything massive. It wasn't infidelity or abuse. It was about the electric bill. It was double what it usually was. When I asked her if she'd left the AC blasting with the windows open again, something she does constantly, she snapped. It wasn't just annoyance, it was pure venom. She went off about how I micromanage everything, how I'm cheap, and how I don't appreciate the emotional labor she puts into the house. This, coming from a woman who hadn't worked in 3 years because she was finding herself, while I pulled 60-hour weeks to cover the mortgage and her increasing Amazon habits. She started throwing things into an overnight bag. It was total performance art. She wanted me to beg, to apologize for having the audacity to ask where our money was going. You know what your problem is? She spat, zipping the bag aggressively. You think you're the only one who contributes. You wouldn't last a day without me managing this life. You'd be living in squalor, eating cold cereal over the sink. I was standing in the kitchen, exhausted, holding a past due notice she'd hidden from me. Something inside me just clicked off. The valve that usually let me absorb her tantrums just shut tight. Is that right? I said, my voice way calmer than I felt inside. She marched to the door, handbag slung over her shoulder. Watch. I'm going to my mom's. When everything falls apart here in 24 hours, don't call me crying because you can't find your own socks. She opened the door. I looked her dead in the eye. Try me. She actually scoffed before slamming the door so hard the pictures on the entryway wall rattled crooked. I heard her car peel out of the driveway a few seconds later. Silence. For the first hour, I just sat on the couch. The house was incredibly quiet. Usually, there was the TV blaring her reality shows, or her talking loudly on the phone to her friends about how difficult her life was. I waited for the panic to set in. The what have I done? I need to fix this moment. It didn't come. Instead, I got up and walked into the kitchen. The sink was full of her breakfast dishes, crusty with oatmeal. I washed them. I wiped down the counters. I realized I hadn't been able to clean the kitchen my way in years because she'd always criticize how I loaded the dishwasher or which sponge I used. I ordered a pizza, pineapple and jalapeno, her least favorite combo, and watched a loud action movie in peace. The next morning I woke up. The house hadn't burned down. I wasn't wallowing in filth. In fact, the house was cleaner than it had been in months because no one had come behind me dropping clothes or coffee cups. I went to work. I came home. It was peaceful. Day 3 is when the facade started to crack. Not mine. Hers. She started texting. Not apologies. Demands. Wife, I need $300 transferred to my personal account ASAP. Mom needs groceries if I'm staying here. I stared at the text. Her mother is very comfortable financially. She didn't need me buying her groceries. This was a power move. A test to see if the ATM was still dispensing cash on command. Me no. 3 dots appeared immediately. Then stopped. Then appeared again. Wife. Excuse me? Did you just cut me off? You think that's funny? You're going to starve your wife to prove a point? Me. You're at your mother's house. You aren't starving. We need to talk about the finances before any more money moves anywhere. She didn't reply to that. Instead, she called. I let it go to voicemail. She left a 2-minute screeching message about financial abuse and how I was a controlling narcissist. That's when I decided to do something I probably should have done 2 years ago. I went into her office, the second bedroom she claimed she needed for her projects, which mostly involved scrolling Instagram and half-starting crafts. It was a disaster zone of yarn, paper, and unopened shopping bags. I started looking through the desk drawers. I wasn't snooping for a diary. I was looking for financial statements. I found them stuffed in the bottom of a plastic craft box, buried under fabric scraps. There were credit cards opened in her name that I didn't know existed. They were maxed out. And bank statements for a checking account I didn't have access to. I sat on the floor surrounded by paper, adding things up on my phone calculator. The numbers made me physically nauseous. Thousands. Tens of thousands of dollars in debt over the last few years. But where was the actual cash going? She bought clothes, sure, but not this much. Then I saw the transfers in her secret checking account statements. Regular, bi-weekly wire transfers. $500 here, $800 there. All going to an account with a name I recognized instantly. Her brother. My unemployed, 35-year-old brother-in-law who still lived in their mother's basement and invested in crypto all day. She hadn't just been overspending our money. She had been siphoning my paychecks to fund her deadbeat brother's lifestyle while screaming at me for asking why the electric bill was high. The rage I felt wasn't the hot, explosive kind. It was cold. It was clarifying. I wasn't useless without her. I was being bled dry by her. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I called in sick to work. It was the first unscheduled day off I'd taken in 3 years. I went straight to a lawyer. A real shark a buddy of mine recommended. Sitting in that mahogany conference room, laying out the statements I'd found, I felt humiliated. The lawyer, a sharp woman named Sterling, didn't pity me. She just looked at the numbers with laser focus. "This isn't just overspending," Sterling said, tapping a highlight on a Chase statement. "This is marital fraud. In our state, community funds used for non-community purposes, like funding a sibling's gambling habits or whatever he's doing, is called dissipation of assets. We can go after her for half of everything she funneled to him." She laid out the plan. It was brutal. It was necessary. "First step," Sterling said, "secure your assets. Move half of the joint savings into a separate account immediately. Second, cancel all supplemental credit cards linked to you. Third, we file for legal separation immediately and freeze the marital estate so she can't rack up more debt that you're liable for." I left her office with a game plan and a heavy heart, but also a strange sense of liberation. When I cut off her supplementary credit cards that afternoon, it took exactly 11 minutes for my phone to ring. "Wife, my card got declined at Starbucks. Fix it. Now." I didn't reply. 5 minutes later. "Wife, are you insane? You're embarrassing me in public. Turn the cards back on right now. This isn't a game." She was right. It wasn't a game anymore. Over the next week, while she played the victim at her mother's house, I went to work on our house. It was therapeutic. I packed up her entire office. All the unfinished crafts, the yarn she never used, the piles of aspirational self-help books she never read. I boxed it all up, labeled it, and stacked it neatly in the garage. Then I reclaimed the space. I repainted the nauseating teal walls a calm slate gray. I moved my desk in there from the kitchen nook. I set up my dual monitors. For years I'd been working on a laptop at the kitchen island because she said a real desk would clutter the aesthetic. I hired a professional cleaning service to do a deep clean, the kind she always claimed she was too busy to do. The house sparkled. It didn't feel empty. It felt like it could finally breathe. Her texts were getting more frantic. She was cycling between rage and love-bombing daily. "Wife, Tuesday, 10 a.m. You're a pathetic, vindictive little man. My brother thinks you should be ashamed of yourself for financially abusing me. Wife, Tuesday, 2 p.m. Baby, I miss you. This is silly. I'm ready to come home. Let's talk tonight and fix this." I responded to the second one. "Me, you can come by on Saturday at noon to talk." I needed time to finish the setup. By Friday, the legal separation papers were drafted. Sterling had done a forensic accounting dive and found even more hidden debt. The total she'd funneled to her brother was nearly $62,000 over 4 years. That was our down payment on a better house. That was our retirement cushion. Gone. I was done being the ATM. I was done being the punching bag. Saturday morning arrived. I woke up early, went for a long run, showered, and put on a nice shirt, not the worn-out t-shirts she always criticized. The house was immaculate. It was quiet. It was mine. At 11:55 a.m., I heard her SUV pull into the driveway. I was sitting in the living room, drinking coffee from a mug I really liked that I'd retrieved from the back of the cabinet where she'd hidden it because it didn't match her decor. She didn't knock. She just tried the door handle. It was locked. I'd changed the deadbolt on Thursday. The rattling of the handle stopped abruptly. Then came the pounding. My name. Open this damn door. What is wrong with you? I set my coffee down slowly. I walked to the door and took a deep breath. This was it. The moment she thought she'd come back and find me broken, begging for her management. I unlocked the deadbolt and swung the door open. She was standing there, ready for a fight, her face contorted in that familiar sneer of superiority. Did you seriously change the L? Her words died in her throat. She looked past me, into the house. It wasn't squalor. It wasn't chaos. The entryway was spotless. The living room beyond it was organized, neat, and peaceful. The air smelled like lemon and sandalwood, not the overpowering floral plugins she insisted on using. What? She stammered, stepping inside uninvited. Her eyes darted around, trying to find the disaster she had predicted. She walked into the kitchen. No dishes in the sink. No takeout boxes on the counter. Just gleaming granite. Where's my stuff? She asked, her voice losing its edge, replaced by genuine confusion. Where is the credenza from the hall? I sold it, I said calmly, leaning against the doorframe. I never liked it. It was clutter.
She spun around.
You sold my furniture? You can't do that. This is my house too.
We need to talk about that, I said.
Come into the office. She pushed past me towards the second bedroom, ready to reclaim her territory. She threw open the door and froze solid. Her jaw actually dropped. Her craft room, the sanctuary of her chaotic spending, was gone. The flimsy shelving units overflowing with useless junk were replaced by my solid oak desk. My monitors were set up, displaying stock charts. The room looked professional, masculine, and serious. What did you do? She whispered, stepping into the room like it was a crime scene. Where are my things? Where are my records? Your things are in the garage, boxed up and labeled, I said, stepping in behind her. And your records? I walked over to the desk. Lined up perfectly in the center were 3 neat stacks of paper. Are right here. She stared at the papers. I saw the recognition dawn on her face. The Chase logo, the Bank of America letterhead, the secret credit union statements. The color drained from her face faster than I'd ever seen. She looked up at me, and for the first time in our relationship, I didn't see entitlement or anger in her eyes. I saw pure, unadulterated terror. You went through my private things, she hissed, trying to summon the old outrage, but it was weak. I went through the financial records of this household. I corrected, my voice flat. Because, as you pointed out, I'm apparently useless at managing things. So, I decided to get better at it. I tapped the first stack. This is $40,000 in credit card debt you racked up on cards you hid from me. I tapped the second stack. This is the $20,000 you siphoned from our joint savings into your secret checking account. I tapped the third, smaller stack. And these are the wire transfer records. Every single cent you sent to your brother. $62,000. While you screamed at me for leaving a light on. She started to shake. You don't understand.
He was in trouble.
He needed help. Family helps family. I was your family, I said, feeling a cold, hard knot in my chest. We were supposed to be a team. You stole from our future to fund his video games and weed. She backed against the wall, cornered in the room that used to be her hideout. So, what is this? You're ambushing me? You think you can just scare me back into line?
No.
I'm divorcing you. I picked up a manila folder that was sitting next to the financial records and held it out to her. These are legal separation papers. My lawyer has already filed them. They freeze our marital assets as of today. You can't access the joint accounts. The credit cards are closed. She stared at the folder as if it were radioactive. You can't just do this. I'll get a lawyer. I'll take the house. I'll take half your pension. You'll be ruined. I almost laughed. The entitlement ran so deep it was delusional. Read the papers, I said. My lawyer is filing for a dissipation of marital assets claim. That 62 grand you gave your brother? That comes out of your share of the house equity. The hidden debt? That's your debt, not ours. By the time the math is done, you won't be taking half of anything. You might end up owing me money." Her eyes went wide. The reality of the legal system was crashing down on her fantasy world. "And the house," she whispered, looking around the room I had conquered. "I'm keeping the house. I can afford the mortgage alone. Easily, actually, now that I'm not supporting 3 adults." She crumbled. It wasn't a graceful fall. She slid down the wall, bursting into loud, ugly sobs. "Baby, please. I messed up.
I'm sorry.
Don't do this.
We can fix this.
I'll get a job. I'll cut off my brother. Just don't throw me away." I watched her cry. A month ago, this would have broken me. I would have been on my knees comforting her, apologizing for upsetting her.
Now?
I just felt exhausted. "You threw us away a long time ago," I said. "Every time you clicked transfer to your brother and then looked me in the face and told me we were broke, you made this choice." I dropped the folder on the floor next to her. "The separation agreement grants me exclusive use of the marital home starting today. You can't stay here. Your boxes are in the garage. You have 2 hours to get them and leave before I have you escorted off the property for trespassing." She looked up at me, mascara running down her face, disbelief warring with devastation. "You wouldn't. Try me."
She left.
It took her 3 trips in her SUV to clear the garage, crying hysterically the entire time, calling her mother, calling her brother, who I doubt offered to help lift a single box. I sat on the porch with a beer and watched. I didn't lift a finger. When the last taillight faded around the corner, I walked back inside, locked the door, and just breathed. For the first time in years, I could actually breathe in my own home. The divorce took a year. It was ugly. Her lawyer tried every dirty trick in the book, claiming I was abusive, claiming I hid assets. But Sterling was a beast. The documentation I found in her craft room was bulletproof. The forensic accounting held up in court. The judge was not amused by her funding her grown brother's laziness with marital funds while claiming financial duress. In the end, she got almost nothing. The debt she hid was assigned solely to her. The money she stole for her brother was deducted from her share of the meager home equity we had built up. She left the marriage with her SUV and its massive loan, her clothes, and about $5,000 in cash. I kept the house. I kept my retirement. I kept my sanity. It's been 2 years since that day. The house is different now. It reflects me. Sometimes it gets lonely. The silence can be loud. But I'll take the lonely silence over the noise of being manipulated any day of the week. I saw her recently, actually. I was at the grocery store, the budget one she used to refuse to shop at because it was depressing. She was in the checkout line ahead of me. She looked tired. The designer purse was gone, replaced by a worn canvas tote. She was arguing with the cashier over an expired coupon for laundry detergent.
She didn't see me.
I watched her walk out to an older sedan, not the luxury SUV she used to demand we have. I felt a pang of something, not regret. Pity, maybe? But then I remembered the sheer arrogance in her voice when she told me I wouldn't last a day without her. I remembered the bank statements showing the money she funneled to her brother while I worked myself into the ground. She was right about one thing. I didn't last a day without her. I thrived. The ego is a fragile thing, especially when it's built entirely on someone else's back. When she slammed that door, she thought she was trapping me in my own incompetence. She didn't realize she was just locking herself out of the only stable thing she had. If you enjoyed watching a toxic ego get absolutely demolished by facts and forensic accounting, hit that subscribe button. It's free, unlike my ex-wife's deadbeat brother.